Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 2025 meeting of the Cultural Arts Commission. We would begin with a call to order. And then we'll move on over to Mariah for a roll call.
All right. We have Mr. Brandt, who is excused. Mr. Doyle?
Present.
Mr. Fogarty?
Present.
Ms. Grewash? Present. Ms. Guayardo?
Present.
Ms. Latimer?
Present.
Ms. Patterson is excused. Mr. Smith?
Present.
And then we have our liaisons, Ms. Perano?
Present.
Ms. Williams?
Present.
And Councilmember Taylor?
Present.
All right, thank you very much. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. I hope you've had a chance to look over the agenda prior to the meeting. At this time, if there are any adjustments or changes to the agenda, it would be the time to speak up about them. Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve that agenda.
Motion to approve. Doyle.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Same thing with the agenda, unless anyone has any changes to the amendments, the minutes from last time. I would seek a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve, Guayardo. Second, Latimer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. At this time, we would look for any citizen comments that we might have. I don't see any citizen comments out there. Hearing none, we will move on to the committee and department reports.
Well, hello there. I have included in your packet, there should be an updated financial statement, and it has the approved and modified amended budget for 2025, and then currently where we are year-to-date for 2025. There's a couple of highlights on there. The lighter highlights are budget amendments that were done in March and April. And then the darker highlights are amendments that just went through the OCVB at our last meeting, which was last week. And those three things were for the Veterans Walk, the repair of the monument, the parking lot, and then also the design for the U.S. Space Force monument. Those things were budgeted in 2024's budget. They did not get encumbered, so they asked that they be rebudgeted. So that went through the OCVB at their meeting last Wednesday. So revenues appear to be a little bit down, mainly due to a change in ownership of one of the hotels, and I've been working with Patrick on getting all that realigned. So we're hoping that the budget, the transient guest tax revenue fund line will come back into trend, and we'll hit our budget again for this year. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions, but just a heads up, we will be starting the budget process here in July. You guys will not have another meeting until August. So if you have any ideas that come through the committee that you would like to see included in this budget, just send me an email, because the OCVB will be looking into doing a draft of the budget, and they're coming up with a new procedure and guidelines of steps to take to get things into the budget, trying to make it a little bit more formal process, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be starting on that already. So if you have any questions of what I've given you or about the budget process, just let me know.
And when you say add things to the budget, this isn't a discussion about purchasing artwork or anything like that. This would be something a little bit more, I guess, oriented towards like Parks and Rec Department or something, or?
It could be either. Like I said, we're coming up with a new process of how to do the budget, and so I don't know if they're going to be looking to have every item in there besides operating items presented again. So purchasing artwork would be something that would not be operating. So we might
Okay.
ask that somebody present on ideas of what you look to purchase for next year. So something like that, we might. But yes, I would, I would still include it. Make sure that we get that in there for next year.
So I know, and just for my education, I know that like last year towards the end of the year, we were discussing like purchasing art pieces that we had sort of a budget already set up for. Now, is that something that we already have set up going into this next fiscal year? Is that is that more aligned with something we would have to ask for?
Well, in this year's budget, we do have $25,000 in the
Okay.
budget for potential artwork purchases. So that is in the 2025 budget. When we come up with the new guidelines and the new process, we might ask that you give us a little bit more information on what you're looking to purchase possibly. They're just, like I said, the process hasn't come up, but it might be anything that is beyond operating, which operating would include the sculptures is considered an operating process because we pay them on a quarterly or 3 times a year. So that comes up and is part of operating because it rolls over to more than 1 year. So that we only have to approve every other year.
Okay. Yeah, I know that it's almost it's tough with the idea of like the purchasing artwork because we've almost done that in a situation where it happens sort of at the end of the year where we kind of have an idea of what sculptures we might want to keep, things like that. And so I guess you're saying that with the new process, we might have to seek a little bit more clarification of what type of items we might be seeking in the future, but not necessarily like pinning down exact art pieces. We just might have to clarify a little bit more.
Correct. And the other thing that we're running into is that originally theater stuff was not, like you look back 3 years ago, we didn't include theater stuff. So
Okay.
now that we're including theater and trying to get that, it gets tighter as a budget. So that's kind of why we're looking for a little bit more clarification of the direction we're going.
Okay. That's good information to have. Does anyone else have any questions about that? Okay. All right, and the next committee report would be Tourism and Festivals report. I know we've got a really big, exciting event coming up.
Just a small little minor event, that's all. So we have definitely landed into our busy season. We actually have 2 events going on tonight, 2 meetings. I've got Jenna in the room behind you taking care of all the Heritage and Freedom Fest vendors, and Mariah and I are in here working with the CAC. So with that, we had our first Jammin' 2 Tuesdays ago, so we had our second one last night. The opening night was Count of Monte Carlo. That was the Tuesday following Memorial Day weekend, so that was May 27th. And then last night we had Wildfire. I would say each night was probably between that 800 to 900 mark of people in attendance. There are a few, I would say probably 3 to 4 of the bands this season will easily get over the 1,200 plus range. So, so far, so good. Everything's been going quite smooth. And kind of moving on to Heritage and Freedom Fest, which is another piece that is coming. Let me back up a second. I've got the entire calendar in my head, and I just realized I skipped a date. This coming Friday, we have our food truck frenzy. I'll get it together eventually. It's been a long day. So Food Truck Frenzy is going to be over at Sports Park, and that starts at 5:30 in the evening and goes until 8:30. Okay, Mariah's nodding. I'm all good. So we have a variety of trucks there. Come on out, grab your dinner, stay a while, enjoy the evening. And then moving forward, we then have Heritage and Freedom Fest, where my brain is currently sitting. I apologize. So things are really ramping up. Our ticket sales for the carnival just went on sale this week. You can purchase those online. They are currently at a reduced price. It's $25 plus any sort of fees that are associated with purchasing online. That will go until July the 2nd. And then once that date comes and goes, everything will be purchased on festival grounds. And then the price goes up to $35 plus fees. So we just really try to encourage people to purchase ahead of time. That way they're saving some money at the same time. And everything is done online. They'll receive their redemption code through an email. They just take it up to the ticket box. And everything this year has turned electronic, so instead of showing a wristband, they will actually be scanning either a barcode or a QR code off of it. So it is tracking how many rides are being used and what times and all of that great data information. So hopefully you all can join us. July 3rd is going to be our family night. So we're I would say about 80% up and running with things. So we will have Ian Ferguson. He'll be performing just on the festival grounds. Stage is not live at that point. We will have a NASCAR exhibit and hands-on kind of an activation piece where it can simulate like you feel like you're driving a NASCAR. Glass blowing will be taking place, and Entertainment Alley will be open until 9:30 that night, and that will, there's no fireworks on that night. But then on July 4th, we will start up at 9:30 in the morning with the parade, and that kicks off right here at City Hall. And that will continue down Main Street until you get to the Tom Genever. Thank you. And then it'll stop right at T.R. Hughes Boulevard. So then the festival grounds will open up at noon that day and goes until 10 o'clock. And then stage will start up that afternoon. We have DJ Lunar Riot, Mark Perkins, Dirty Mugs, and then Neon Trees is our headliner. And then fireworks are at 9:30. So then on the 5th, that's our country night. We'll open up again at 4 o'clock and we'll go to 11 o'clock that night. And so everything that we had before will still continue moving forward, including fireworks, but fireworks will go at 10:15 that night. And the stage will have DJ Lunar Riot, Chapel Heart, Tiger Lily Gold, and Gabby Barrett on stage. So it's a lineup of an all-female powerhouse group of women, so I'm kind of excited about that. Just once again, just reminding you all that the carnival tickets are on sale now, and if you could help spread the word with that, that would be wonderful. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
For the QR scanning, for the wristbands and everything like that, is that information for us? Information for the, I suppose, the carnival folks who are bringing this?
Yes,
everything?
so it's their ticketing system that they are now implementing and using. They are referring to it as a fun pass. So a lot of times, the technology with wristbands nowadays are really getting off the charts to the point of they can be preloaded with cash, and that's how vendors are accepting. So everything then becomes a cashless type of event. So how they're using it, I am not 100% sure, but that is something new that they're doing this year, which is, for those of us who do operating, are on the operations sides of things, the data that you get from that is fantastic. So it lets you know what rides are used the most, what's used the least, what hours seem to be those peak hours, so on and so forth. And that information could then go and help like food vendors prepare to know that, hey, I need to be making more corn dogs by 8 because we're gonna get slammed by 8:30 kind of thing. It may seem silly, but it means a lot to us.
No, that's the type of stuff I was really thinking of. So we are, like, you'll get that information as well? They'll pass that along, or is it?
I can ask for it and see if they
was just
would do
curious.
that. I personally, what I would be interested in would be the volume of people coming in, seeing when those really peak hours are and what are those quantities actually being scanned and used in one particular night versus the total number of tickets being purchased as a group, because all of the tickets are purchased as open-ended, and until you redeem that email with the code on it, it is not turned in until, so say I bought 3 tickets and I used 2 of them on the 4th and then 1 on the 5th. So it just kind of lets you know what days people are also picking, and then also the time frames as well.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? All right, well, thank you very much, Jennifer. All right, and our cultural arts report, I guess Jenna's doing the meeting across the way, who was already subbing in for our dear lost Brittany.
Yes. So I am now taking that hat on for this evening. Everybody is kind of tag teaming this week because we have a lot going on.
Understandable.
So, yes, as you said, sadly, we have lost Brittany. She is moving on to a different position outside of the city. She has done a fantastic job for us, and she will be missed. So I will do my absolute best to answer any sort of questions that may come up. But she did leave us some information to pass along for this purpose. And I think the biggest piece right now is you may hear a little bit above us, and that is the production 6, the musical, the Teen Edition, that has an opening night of this Friday. So it will run 6, 7, 8, and then the following weekend on that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday again. So far, we have sold 636 tickets, and that's probably, I want to say almost 250 more from last weekend or last week when I gave a report. So we're really starting to see a run up on those. Those can be purchased online. Once again, they can be purchased at the door by scanning a QR code, so everything would be responsible for the person purchasing the ticket. There's no transactions that we would be handling. We would just scan the ticket itself for the redemption of it. So it's kind of a self-serve box office, more or less, on that. So that is available. So opening night is this coming Friday, and hopefully you all can come in and see the production out of the 6 different dates that we do have. And then after that, we do have The Curious Savage coming up. We've already had the auditions for that. And as you were coming through City Hall, you probably noticed that we do have a new artists. Actually, we have multiple artists in our gallery space at this time. So we have Maddie Unger and Mel Tykonovich. Forgive me, it is a unique spelling. And then over at the Krekel Civic Center, we have Dave Walker. And then down at Renaud, we have Ken Conkle. So those exhibits are running right now until August 30th. So if you haven't had a chance to go and see those, there's some really amazing pieces of work. And we did have an opening reception for all of the artists back on May 16th. So that was very well attended. It was more of, we labeled it as an art crawl. So people started here, kind of had a little conversation with the artists, and they had an opportunity to kind of explain their works and how they come and derive to what they end up creating, and then moved on to the Krekel and then down to the Renaud Center. So It was very well received. It was very nice. It's a great opportunity to be able to ask questions because you start getting really curious when you start hearing how they come up with things. So we do have a couple of classes coming up. Visual Thinking Strategies workshop that's coming up on June the 10th. And then we also have another class coming up on June 24th. It is an adult art class with Annie Campbell. She was one of our artists that was over at the Krekel Civic Center. And she works with inks and basically the movement and flow of those inks, and she creates landscapes with it. It's very impressive. So take a look at those if you have some curiosity and hopes that you can paint like Annie. So with that, I would be happy to answer any sort of questions.
Are any of the events for this weekend for the play, are any of the nights sold out or Sunday afternoon?
No, we are not sold out at this time, but we would like to be.
What time does Food Truck Frenzy start again?
5:30.
So you would potentially have time to grab food at the food truck and then come see the play.
That is true.
Be a bit of a tight window, but I think you can do it.
Yes, there is carry-out containers. There is no mobile apps that I'm aware of to order your food in advance and to pick up, so that I don't have. There's no wristband for that.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jennifer. All right, moving on to old business. There's nothing on the agenda under old business. Is there anything we feel we need to discuss? Seeing none, move on to new business and our Fallen to the Arts voting. A lot of hats tonight.
All right. So I am going to hand out these sheets. And honestly, what they are is just a reference for what I'm about to go through. We're not actually going to be using them tonight. I'm just handing them out as an example as to what you're going to be seeing. And I'll get to all that in a minute. So if a page seems to be missing as I was resorting these as we were opening up, or they may not be in the order that they are when I show them on the screen, it's okay. I just wanted to go ahead and give you all the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okie doke. So this year we are doing things, I'm going to try to get this on. So I'm loading this from being online. This year, all of our voting for the Fallen to the Arts is going to be done online. We started a new process, we being Brittany, started a new process called ZAP. And it's an opportunity for the artists to log in through this application service, which also broadcasts out. It basically casts a much wider net for people to be able to see the fact that we do have this event here in O'Fallon, and it may be a fit for them. So it allows them to apply. It also allows them to create like their artist statement, give you an idea of a description of what it is that they plan on showing, and then it also allows them to upload a picture. So what I'm going to do is just log back in here. I've timed out. And today you will have, if not already, received a login information for being a juror. I believe those were timed to go out to your emails at 6:30 this evening. So everybody will have a login, and you will also have a temporary password. So once you go in, you will then, it'll automatically prompt you to, I disappeared. It will automatically prompt you to go ahead and change your password at that time. So that's what you'll want to do. Okay, we're having technical difficulty. Seems on par for, well, I will get to that in a second and try to troubleshoot that, but I'm going to finish explaining this first. I can't multitask on that one. So what it'll do is it'll then prompt you to change your password. From there on out, what will happen is you will end up choosing, if we would have multiple events going on, so maybe we have Shape a Community at the same time as, now we're going. So say we have Shape a Community and Fall Into the Arts at the same time, you would have the ability to choose what show you would be voting on at this time. So right now we only are working with Fall Into the Arts, so that's the only option you will see. So you just click on that drop down arrow, click Fall Into the Arts, and this is what you will see once you are up and running. So what it does is it will show you the ID number, which is also on those pages. We have the ability to print out the pages, and technically we could go through and just mark all of those, but myself or Jenna as an administrator, we can't go in and then put in those votes, because ethically you should be putting in the votes, not us. So that way it takes out anything of, some claims of, well, you changed the way the voting was being done. So the ball is in your courts, and you will be able to do this. We just ask that all of the voting is completed by Friday. So if you could do that by end of day Friday, we would greatly appreciate it. But as you see here, there's an ID number, what type of category this is, and then it will automatically start tabulating the scores as you're going through them to see where they're at. And right now, what we are doing is, this is new to us. It is new to you. This is the first time we're using it, so, there's a little bit of growing with it at the same time as learning. But so where we're starting with this is a yes, a no, or a maybe category. So we're not getting into a numbering system. We're going to see how this works for the first time, and then look at taking maybe that next step and going from there with the more that we get. So you will not be able to see how other people are voting. It will only be yourself. So when you do open it, you can see up here it says there's thumbnails. So that's the ability to go in and then be able to see all of the images versus clicking on each individual one as it was before, where it was just like line items. So you will see here the various pieces, and as far as the entries that we have, I did have a breakdown of how many different ones that we had, and you can even, we can even run reports to say, I know we have at least one photographer right now, at least 10 people are doing paintings, and maybe 3 or 4 people are doing ceramics. So it'll even break down those categories as to how many people we have in each category. So right now we have a total of 33 applications put in. So I want to say that they actually close on Friday of next week, which should be the 13th of June. So, and then what we'll be able to do is through this, all those yeses get an instant notification to let them know that they have been accepted, and that we will be reaching out to them to create an account so they can then do a form of payment for participation. So anyway, it's a pretty neat little system here, and we are excited to use it. But once again, you can see here how these ID numbers will then correlate with on your judge's sheets there. It gives you a little bit more information, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to see if there was a way to enlarge it, but it doesn't look like there is. But I can go ahead and scroll through this a little bit.
I do have a quick question. Where it says your comments, is that just for us for our own note taking, or is that something that you see once we submit it?
That is a good question. We haven't been able to deep dive that far into it yet since it's new. So we'll see more of that as we go. But I don't know, test it. Give us a secret message and let us know. So yeah, it's going to be trial and error a little bit just to see how it goes. I know Jenna and I were both playing around in it today to see who could see what, and just trying to get me set up as a test juror, because I wanted to know what you all would actually be seeing versus an administrative side, because as a juror, you cannot see people's names, but we can. So that way it's just, it's fair. Yes, ma'am.
So, excuse me, Latimer, Christine, it will only just be one sample of the artist's work?
That is what the site is allowing us to do, yes. That would be, honestly, I think it would be a question that we could ask them. Jenna and I had a training session on Friday of last week to kind of review a little bit of the ins and outs of it, because it is very new to us.
Yes, and just one other, like for
Sure.
example, the folk arts at the I don't even know what that is. That a bench? Is that a pillow?
Looks like a bowl.
It is, I believe it is leather. When I was reading it earlier, it's a leather, I don't know, to me, it's like when gentlemen come home and they're taking out their keys, their wallet, their all that stuff, and they're throwing it in one spot. So, the wife doesn't get mad that it's all over the kitchen countertop. That. So it's all like hand leather, but there will be descriptions that you'll be able to get into as well. Let's see here.
I have a question.
Yes.
Out of 33 submissions, do we have a target for how many we want to approve?
So honestly, I would say we would not want to go beyond maybe 40 altogether for total acceptance. Now, it doesn't mean all these 33 will necessarily be approved. It is based on space available, and we are looking to grow this. So last year, I want to say we were probably around 30 to 32 people total. If we can get up to 40, I think that would be great. And it did look pretty full last year, but it would really, we have the space to expand, but it just does need to fit within the criteria of what we're looking for, which is going to be handmade pieces, not something that is store-bought and then altered.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to chime in, just since Bill's probably not, he doesn't know what Fallen with the
Correct.
Arts kind of was. We are looking for it to be more of an arts festival than a craft fair. And
Correct.
not to use craft in like a term that's negative at all. It's just not really what we're going for. So like crit cut items wouldn't fall into a category of artwork that we're
Right.
looking for.
So we would encourage either high-end crafts or fine art. So there's some differences between that. So even in like the artist statement, there is where somebody is doing a fabrics type art. They actually are spinning their own yarn, dyeing their own yarn, and then creating their own piece from that as well. And so I do encourage you to read those, because that caught my eye today as I was going through it. I believe the dye came from a flower, so it's all natural type process of dyeing and spinning and then like a crocheting. So it's more than what meets the eye.
But I do see like your original question, Bill. That was going to be one that I had. Like, have we reached our limit? So if you find that all 33 speak to you as something artworthy, we have the space.
Correct. We do. We do. I think if we get up to 40, that would be amazing. But I also feel very comfortable where we're at as well. If, whether or not everybody is or is not accepted, we're kind of at a sweet spot right now.
Christine Latimer. So in the past, there have been works of art that were questionable, and we kind of just removed them from the list. So what happens
Correct.
if we have questions about something or that's on there?
So that's where I want to say you'll be able to put in your comments on there. So if there is a no, if you would like to give your reasoning behind the no, that would be the opportunity to do that. Or if it's a maybe, that could be where that question falls in as to why it is a maybe. So yes, as Christine was saying, we have had some pieces. Do want to remind you as you're looking through these that this is a family-friendly event. So yes, art can be, based on human form, which it is most definitely, but you also have to take into consideration of how that may come across to others. So we just need to make sure that it is, a family-friendly piece.
Jennifer, if there, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just going to continue on with that. Just 1 second, please. If with only one sampling, if they show up and there's something inappropriate, is that being reviewed before?
We will say something. Yes.
Yeah.
I've had to do that before. So, yes.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
That was my concern, if there was only one thing to judge from, and especially a particular artist has other things.
Sure.
Really, yeah.
Yes. No, fair statements, fair questions. And that is something that I'm going to follow up with them to see if there's ways of getting other images or being able to load more than one. So you're all learning with us at the same time. So
Well, and at this point, while we're sort of adopting this new technology, I know that a lot of these artists have sent images into you, or I guess Brittany earlier. So maybe if something falls under a maybe category and you want to see more imagery, I imagine we probably have that, or the artist could supply it.
correct. We could reach out to the artist because we will know who the artist is, but you will not. And then we would be able to just send those images out anonymously. So
This is great, though. I'm really excited to use this program.
yes, I am excited to try this out, to see how far of it, like I said, this is also an opportunity to capture people outside of maybe the metro area, see how far we can cast that net and advertise and go from there. So
Will this process also be used for the sculptures when we start to vote on them?
I do feel this could be an opportunity for the sculptures. It's more than just, used for festivals or art fairs or what have you. So, but we also have to recall that we use cafe, which also is one that has been kind of narrowed in a little bit more to sculptures. So it may be, and I don't know because I haven't been on this side of it yet, but it may be during the setup process, the parameters that you put in when you're setting it up. So it may state more of a purpose, what you're specifically trying to go after versus the fact of an art fair, art festival versus a sculpture parks. Or parks, there's others that are just one. So, but that is something I have not yet done, is actually build the platform side of it.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all about it? Just have our voting done by Friday of next week? Or of this Friday?
Friday.
Okay, tight
This
turnaround.
Friday. Yes, it really shouldn't be a terribly long process of everything, so.
Make sure your logins work tonight.
Yes. Yes,
can.
I would go ahead and check those sooner versus later because staff will not be in the office probably starting at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday because we do have 2 events that we are also operating on that night. So, Mariah, in my seat, is there a list of voting for OTW? And it should have a bunch of handwritten numbers underneath. Thank you. Okay, and then unless there's any other questions, I was just going to go ahead and move on to the top 3 selections.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. So for next year, for 2026, there are 4 different categories, and there is the top 3 that have come about through each of these categories. So play, musical, teen, and holiday are the categories. This is going to be a process in which is going to have to rotate around the improvements that we're doing to the theater, which is my next presentation. So, as far as the play goes, the top 3, in no particular order, is The Thing from the Unknown, Pride and Prejudice, and Our Town. Okay? And then as far as a musical goes, we have Little Shop of Horrors, Little Miss Sunshine, and Sweeney Todd. For the teen, Chicago, Teen Edition, The Chorus Line, Teen Edition, and Bring It On, the musical. And as far as the holiday one goes, Elf, A Christmas Story, the musical, and It's a Wonderful Life. So all of these are also very much dependent not only on the renovation, but also on the availability of the rights and others surrounding communities who may also be putting on some of these productions as well. So that's where we have landed with those at this time. we'll have to see how some of it falls. More than likely, one play will be cut just because of renovations. So we'll have to play that card when we get there. Don't ask me anything too hard, Christine.
There's just one I want to be in.
Okay.
I hope it's not that one.
So we have these selections, and then we have are we going to have a voting process in the near future, or are we, okay.
Yes, in the near future, because what we would end up doing from this point is then seeing what you all vote on and then looking into where we are with the rights on pieces. And then we look at, we do our budget in a way where we're able to, we've already budgeted for getting the rights to these ahead of time. That way we can get them all settled in by the end of the year, and then we are able to do the announcement of moving forward in January. So that way it's, because we can't announce anything until we actually have the rights for them.
And do we know who's directing each one of these already, or is that still?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Not yet. Each director kind of has their own strengths and what they just naturally fall into. So.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. So me again. Oh, goodness. So, you've heard me say this a few times as far as a theater renovation. We have been able to slowly start making some improvements over time, starting with even just the ticketing and being able to scan those tickets, keep things done electronically, being able to work with stage extensions and looking to continue on with upgrades that have been placed in the budget. And that is part of what Kelly was talking about when she was speaking about the finances and all that. That's the theater. So with that said, we were given some funding last year, and we've encumbered that. And moving forward, we're looking at not just doing, maybe a light grid here, and we've got the tiered seating, which we've already implemented as well. But now what we're looking at is truly going and doing and turning it into an operational theater. So we're talking about investing in the future of the O'Fallon Theater Works. This year we do have the complete works of William Shakespeare. 6 is what's going on right now, and The Curious Savage. And we are just finishing up, dotting our I's and crossing our T's with the holiday production, and we will be announcing that at some point as well. We do have some theater communities around us. St. Peter's, they also Kirkwood. Kirkwood has a couple actually, and then also in Clayton. And this is an example of what their theaters look like. They were purposely designed to be a theater. Right now, we are working with a gymnasium that is going to be converted into more of a theater space, but in that same breath, a multi-purpose theater space. So this could have an opportunity of more than one function. So this is something we need to keep in mind during the design work of it all, and how we use that space. So just a quick little background from where we came from, where we are now, and where we would like to move to. OTW is what we lovingly shorten things down to, but it does stand for O'Fallon Theater Works. Started in 2001. like I was saying, it was originally a school gymnasium, and then the city took ownership. So we are trying to do a multi-use space, and that is when it became more of a reality and just became a dedicated space instead of a multi-use space, meaning like exercise classes, shooting baskets, things of that nature. So the last actual improvement that was done in that space was for safety, and that was done in 2000. So it's been more than a minute for things to be improved upon. So over the past couple of years, you have seen quite a bit of growth in O'Fallon Theater Works, and we would like to continue to ride that momentum going forward. And last year was amazing with the introduction of Scrooge and then Mean Girls as well. They were our top 2 producers, and as you can see, the percentage of revenue increase was off the charts. And you can see here, this is just Scrooge. Over here is just Mean Girls. And this is the yearly of 22, 23, and 24, just by adding in one other production and certain titles with the youth and bringing the youth into things. So the other piece that we added in, as I already stated, was the ticketing platform, the holiday play. Credit cards are now being accepted for our concessions, so we have the ability to do that now. So tiered seating, and then also we started a program called Dine and Discover that worked very well at the holiday. So people were able to go and have a meal actually in the multipurpose room, and the characters came down, kind of did a little bit of meet and greet, signed the playbills, and then after they were finished with their meal, everybody just walked upstairs and then went ahead and watched the show. That was also kind of went hand in hand with other holiday activities that were going on that the city was providing, and some people were taking advantage of both. We had a family who bought out an entire trolley of 30 seats, went through, they went and saw the play on, the afternoon, and then they all went, hopped in, took the trolley, and then went through Celebration of Lights. So there's, opportunities for doing season tickets or bundling holiday bundles, so things like that, and looking into tiered seating, meaning more so assigned seating and season ticket holding. So we're still figuring out all those details, but we do feel that is a direction we can most definitely go. So the function of this renovation would also include a speaker series or use for corporate platforms or musical entertainment, and that being a smaller scale setup. We're not looking for like a whole rock band type situation. We did have the USO was looking to put on a type of a show here at one point. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to fully develop, but that does give you an example of something that is for potential of that. So wanted to kind of point out some of the limitations that we do have and why we are looking to move forward the way that we are. There is structurally light leaks, meaning like through our curtain system, how we currently have limited fly loft, and I'll explain that in a moment. Wings, there's obstructions, there's restrictions with the current platforms, the way that we have it, the lighting, sound. The control booth is a 6-foot table, so therefore we do not have a control booth. Dressing room limitations, a dedicated scene shop is something that is really important to be able to build. We currently don't have that. It just kind of goes in the middle of everything. And then storage. Of course, you have to have storage. So the limited wing space and what that means is as you were standing backstage and the person is sitting out in the audience, this area here is only 36 inches wide. So there's only 36 inches for somebody to kind of hide in the wings or to have maybe a prop or something of that nature hidden in that respect, so people are not seeing it before it's actually time for it to come out onto stage. Fly loft, what that means is the space that is above the stage area, and that is where you would store and operate scenery, maybe dropping down, some of your lighting, other equipment during the production, whatever maybe special effects there may or may not be. So we have a grid, it's just not a operational functioning piece. It's just structurally there, but that's it. And being able to have a little bit more space in there would also be extremely beneficial. If you are not familiar with downtown being referred to as the rail district, that is something that has been going for a few years now. So the businesses in downtown O'Fallon and where City Hall is located, you'll see banners on the light posts, and there's usually imagery of a train. The chamber has been doing an event last year. They're doing it again this year, and it's spotlighting O'Fallon businesses and inviting people to come to the rail district. So with that said, we're looking at potentially using that as a platform of inspiration to kind of move forward with things and continue to work through design that way. But going back to the stage and some of those limitations, this is currently our layout that we have upstairs. And these platforms here you're able to move them around. It's nothing stationary. We do need to incorporate those because the current stage that we have is very small. There is one dressing room here, and this back alleyway connects to the green room and then the second dressing room. Generally speaking, the dressing room 2 is where the gentlemen dress, and then dressing room 1 is where the ladies would typically dress. You are limited as to how you get on stage at times, so a lot of times people enter through this doorway. So it would be ideal to be able to have more access points as well. We would also limit or eliminate the use of renting the stage extensions every year if we could just go ahead and just build something. Conceptually, it would be, we would like to at least bump it out 20 more feet in front of the stage, allowing for a scene shop to be utilized on the back half, which is more of the original side of the stage. That way, when things are created, there's no trying to heave-ho it up onto the stage. It would just go ahead and get pushed out to where it needs to be. You can close that curtain, get things cleaned up, and then the performance can go ahead and go on. We talked about the larger wings, looking on ways that we can make things more ADA accessible, and additional stage entrances, like I was saying before, we do have limitations with that. This is a little bit of the concept or inspiration, like I was talking about with the rail district. Seeing like this image down here in the corner where you have the structural pieces of the metal going back and forth, the slats of railroad ties or boards. It all kind of stemmed from this centerpiece of a piece of carpet that was in the running at one point during renovations of City Hall. So these were just pieces like this is nothing but sound So these are boards that would go on. Once again, they've got that kind of crisscross look going to things, just trying to potentially keep something in that theme. The cart is definitely before the horse right now, but sometimes the cart is more fun. So, but this is a sample of like what a grid system is and what that would look like. That would give us the ability to move our lights in different configurations based on whatever that director's needs would be at the time. So overall, the upgrades that we would be looking at would be structural. And we've gone over a good portion of those already with the dressing room, ADA needs. We would also like to be able to improve our seating. So currently it is a hard shell seat. We would like to be able to get something with a little bit more cushion, get through some painting, blackout curtains, fly system, pipe and drape, those types of things. So this document was created a couple of months ago, I would say, and we've already been going through a progress, which I'll get through, but get to you in just a moment about that. But some other hopes for us would be the grids and fixtures, light boards, spotlights. The electric, I'm sure, is going to need to be upgraded. Sound booth, wall panel, monitors, speakers, hanging mics, those types of things. These are all things that we need to think about, and we're just kind of scratching the surface with this. There is clearly an investment with this. This is definitely going to be a phased opportunity for us. We do work with a couple of different accounts. The 260 account is our transient guest. That is what Kelly was speaking about earlier. That is where that funding can come from. And then also, right now, in this year's budget, we did have funding for a special event at the stadium of $75,000, and then $20,000 was approved as a capital improvement item for our light grid system. However, we have asked, and we already were seeking approval from council, which we did receive, to be able to reallocate those funds. So that $20,000 now has been taken out, and we're using that for our architect who is coming in and doing the measurements and taking a look at what our potential is and creating that master plan for us. And then with the other account with the $75,000 for the special events, which is usually something that tourism and festivals would end up doing, we have been able to seek out an outside vendor who is putting on the event themselves. However, we are partnering with them, and it's more so an investment that we are not having to make financially, but we are investing our resources and our abilities and knowledge in event planning and partnering with them in that way. And it's called Barrels and Brews. So it is going to be a bourbon, wine, there's all sorts, it's all single barrels. So tequilas, you name it. And so they usually do live music and a whole other thing. So there's that side of things as well. I did ask to hold on to 10,000 of that, so we were able to reallocate 65,000, just a little security blanket, just in case we need something. So that is just how we're looking at approaching things. These are some initial quotes that we have been looking at, and you are going to see things add up very quickly. And so we are at a starting point of $250,000 for this first phase. You know, I'm afraid to even show this timeline because it's already probably completely blown up. So, but where we are right now is probably more important than this particular slide right now, is we are in the phase where we have met with an architect, we have hired the architect. The architect was just out yesterday actually taking the measurements. We've been up in the ceiling, we've been under the stage, we've been here, there, and everywhere. So we are moving forward. He will also be working with sound engineers and structural engineers to take a look at everything that is currently in place and how we can utilize that. So sound is going to be very important. Case in point, what we just heard, and how can we minimize that. So we would like to be further along than we are. We'd always like to snap our fingers and have everything done, but it does take some time. But we are in a forward motion, which is very exciting. So Chris Lanham, he has provided a lot of this information and the, I guess, the technical graphics drawings. That's not what I do, but he's very good at that. So I do want to give him credit where credit is due, because he did a very nice job putting together some of those graphics, and I want to make sure we give a shout out to him. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. And I know I've been talking a lot, and there's a lot of information.
I have a question. So
Yes.
You got this architect coming in, and he's doing this design work. So
Correct.
who actually builds this for the city?
Who's building it?
Yeah, or who gets to bid?
Oh, well, once we get to that, it will be open to a public bid.
Okay. I mean,
Correct.
I would very much like to get my company involved.
Okay,
So, yeah. That would
sounds good.
Thanks.
Christine Latimer. Question, we have the sound people come in and it's usually the same group and they set up. So is the long-term desire to have someone on staff at the city, or is that? Yeah.
Future-wise, I think it would be ideal if we could have somebody that would be able just to run that for each one of the productions. It clearly would not be a full-time person necessarily. It would just be more of a part-time person based on the needs of each play, kind of like how we work with the directors.
So that would be a savings, I would think, not having to hire out and they bring in
Right. I mean,
equipment.
we would not be purchasing, or leasing the equipment through the season. It would then be our equipment, and then it would be more so making sure we have somebody to be able to operate it. Because I was happy to get the ClickShare to work, so it won't be me. Thank you.
No, I mean, that was a fantastic PowerPoint slide, delivered amazingly, well-knowledged. And honestly, I'm just really excited about all of this because I love our theater and I love the passion that the folks with OFallon Theater Works have.
We have a very talented group of individuals, so it would be nice
Someone that's
to...
been in plays here since 2000, oh my gosh, 8?
Don't do it.
I'm excited about other dressing rooms, like, excuse me, to the guys, can I get by?
Yes.
Or why are you in here?
Right, yes.
That looks amazing.
So yes, this is going to definitely take time, and we do live in a society where we'd like to snap our fingers and everything be done, but it is going to take some time to get through everything, and this is a big investment, so we do need to make sure that we are making wise choices and thinking very clearly through how the space is used by different types of individuals or purposes. So, yeah, it's going
And I know you touched on it a little bit, but how far along in the approval process before City Council has this vision gone?
We have money.
Okay.
So
That's the most important.
step one, we have money.
Okay.
So that right now is a plus. So we've gone through the process of being able to secure the architect in a contract. We have all the paperwork done. And like I said, he's already started taking the measurements and such. So we've had our kickoff meeting with him. We were probably 3.5 hours walking around and talking about, plans and objectives and how we kind of want to see that space. And it's not we're going to be in the space that we currently have, but how can we look at that differently?
Great.
So,
I have a question about, I see all the different things for OTW on here, and there's like a section. What is the U.S. Space Force Monument Design?
so over at the Veterans Memorial Walk, that is a new part of the armed forces, and that is something that is not represented there currently. So that is something we are looking to make sure that gets represented and added. Yes. So all the armed forces are represented.
And that doesn't fall under the theater items. It just seems to have gotten sandwiched between theater equipment and then
So
the
that
new
was
items.
one of the pieces that was not encumbered from the previous year's budget that Kelly was talking about. And so I'm sure that was the next open line.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
It's all separated between what's an improvement, what's building, what's equipment, it's separated by that, and then however it's submitted or replacement items or whatever.
Okay, yeah, because Christine, I think you were asking because the way it's laid out on here, it looks like it's part of the theater items.
There's no
Just-
spaceships being built for
Right?
Actually, what
miscellaneous.
had happened is that the first two items were included in the 2025 budget. The last group of items were what we amended the budget for, and then this one was put in the middle.
Gotcha. All right. Do we have any other questions about, do you see, so as far as our board, our commission here is there anything that you'll be needing our help from on this project, or is it more informative for us?
Right now, I would say it's definitely more of the informative pieces. We are learning as we go. I know Craig has worked with several build projects. I myself, this is my first one, and I'm really excited about it, probably a little too excited, and Craig's going to tell me to sit down. So right now, it's a lot of gathering information and just we aren't even really at a starting line yet. So it's hard to give too much more. We have a vision of where we want to go. Will it look like this at the end? Probably not, but it's something to move forward with.
Great.
Yes,
Well, let us know how we can be helpful.
I most definitely will. We'll know a little bit more each time. So he just did the measurements on Tuesday. So that's like how close we are to getting information and then being able to provide information.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
all of your information
Sure.
tonight. And then what do we have left here? Any other items? Does anyone have anything else they would like to bring forward for the commission? I think this is probably an item that can certainly wait until we have a little more, where we might have another cultural arts coordinator or not, but I did want to discuss the potential of meeting more often in the future. And that's just something I kind of wanted to bring up as an item to discuss. Right now, I think 6 times a year is probably good, especially without a actual cultural arts coordinator, but it is something I would like to revisit possibly in the future. Not necessarily something that needs to be added to the agenda, but something I just wanted to kind of put in everybody's minds. Anyone else?
No, I agree, even if it's just maybe 1 or 2 or...
I don't know. For me, it feels like I understood the need to maybe scale back because we were getting a little redundant with some of our meetings, and we didn't have very fresh material to bring to the table. But now it's starting to feel like sometimes we have too much time between meetings. And then we had that one unfortunate situation where we didn't have enough folks, didn't have a quorum, and it just seemed like there was a huge period of time between meetings. But so that's...
Yeah, I agree, and I do agree with Bill in that everyone needs to be committed if they need to be here if they can, so we don't have that situation. It's a meeting lost, that's down to 5 meetings then,
And I wanted to thank our new members before we head out. I think, Bill, are you the only one here tonight for our new members? Lee is returning, which I'm happy to see. And thank you for joining the commission, Bill.
I think Ella and Noah are watching.
Oh,
Ella was sick today and Noah is out of town for work, but I think they are watching live, so we can say hi to them.
and thank you both. Yes, thank you both for joining if you're still watching. They probably saw we were near the end and they're like, wrap it up. All right. Unless someone else has something else, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Latimer, second. No. Sorry. Latimer first. I don't
Doyle,
even know
second.
what I'm saying right now. I'm so.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I heard all ayes, so we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.